going to show the various stages of carrot seed maturity on the umbel, how to then harvest the carrot seed from the umbel and clean the seed. I'm going to demonstrate how to recognize the various stages of seed maturity in carrot umbels. So we'll first look at some flowers right at the point where they're fully receptive. This is a compound umbel, and in fact there are hundreds of flowers on that umbel and hundreds of seeds getting pollinated within a several-day period. They open sequentially. From the fully receptive, this is as the flowers are starting to lose their petals, and in fact the seed is starting to form. The pollination is essentially done by this point. From that we go to, you can see little cylinders in there. Those are all the carrot seed capsules at a nice green ripe stage. But this means you've gotten good pollination, good seed set essentially. From that, we go pretty quickly to a little bit of brown showing. That means good maturation. Here we are, it's the middle of August here in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington, and these are right on schedule. Now the flowers that you're mostly going to be interested in for most seed savers in the north, and for any kind of area where you run out of season, is the king umbel. It's the first flower to open. It's at the center of the floral arrangement, and in fact, in this case, the king here, it's turning a little tan. You know that it's well on its way to maturity. Everything I'm showing you now is much too early to even think about harvesting. From that, two things that start to happen at this stage. Both you get more browning, more tannish, and you also get, in a certain amount of carrots, and carrots have a lot of genetic variation for this, but you get what the old timers call the bird's nest effect, where they start to curl up and make like a rounded bird's nest. From that flower, now we're going to go one step riper. First of all, the little stipules, the little leaves on the underside of the umbel, those are getting brown. That's a real good sign that you are approaching maturity. Here's the other sign. When I rub my finger lightly across the top of the umbel, I'm shedding seed. Once the seed sheds like that, it is essentially ready. This is one that has really turned more into a bird's nest. It is fully ripe, and in fact, at this stage, these little stipule leaves are quite a bit browner. At this stage, all of that seed is ready to go. I run my thumb across it, and the reason I like to do that is because I don't break up the little tiny sticks that are attached to each flower, each seed. And the less sticks you get in at time of harvest, the less sticks you have to clean out of the seed later. This one, in our beautiful mild climate here, where we get constant breeze but not really hard winds, that's gone beyond that beautiful buckskin brown, and it's starting to get gray. That worries me, because that means the beginnings of onset of some kind of disease. Now, it may not be the kind of disease that's detrimental to your subsequent carrot crop, but it can be some kind of disease that compromises the quality of your seed. If you can get it at that real buckskin color, then I think you're really doing a good job. I have here a collection of umbels that all have what I consider mature carrot seed on them. They generally, as they mature, get crispy dry, these small little leaves that are attached to the underside of the umbel. Though, on some varieties, you can still have a little bit of green and yellow still evident when the seed is mature enough to harvest on top. The most important part of observing this is the fact that some of these umbels that are extremely dry, and you can see this one is extremely dry and really should have been harvested a week or two ago, because you run the risk at this point. This seed is very loosely held on here and can shatter off of this umbel very easily. So I prefer to tell people to watch very closely for a week to 10 days up to the maturing process, and get them when there's still a little bit of green or yellow, making sure that that seed is dead ripe, because this seed generally will hold on to that umbel better and will not shatter if you have a wind event or a hard rain. The key in cleaning any kind of dry seed is to minimize the amount of debris that comes off the plant with the seeds. In this case, carrots specifically have all of these little sticks, essentially, both the long ones that attach to the umbel as well as these small ones. So by gently coming in with your thumb and just rubbing the head of that umbel, you can loosen the seed and have minimum amount of debris coming along. You're going to get some, but it's worth taking your time on this, because if I just were to take this and crumble it, I'd be creating a lot of work for myself in cleaning sticks out of my eventual carrot seed, especially if I want the carrot seed to be nice for planting and easily flowing through, whether I'm planting by hand or with a small seeder. So you see how I rotate this around. I'll go around several times and I just loosen up seed and it's coming off. And there's very little stick debris in that. So I just do that several times over gently. Don't have to get it all the first time. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure in this case. The next step in the process of cleaning carrot seed is to remove the burrs from the carrot seed. So here on the left is some of the seed that we just harvested, which has little tiny wings or burrs all along both edges of the seed. Here on the right is clean carrot seed. So we'll show the process that it takes to get this burred carrot seed to the deburred state. And some kind of rubbing is necessary to do this. I like to use a tray like this with a little bit of texture because of the pattern on it, and so rubbing against it really helps loosen that up. But if you can't get a tray similar to this one, you can use a cookie sheet, and then you'll probably have to do a little bit more rubbing this way. You can always rub any of the umbellifery seed between your hands, and it will loosen up a lot of the burrs or the wings. So it can be some combination of rubbing on the tray, rubbing between the hands. A lot of the deburring actually occurs from the rough carrot seed rubbing against other carrot seeds. So you're just facilitating that whole process. When I've gotten it at least halfway clean, what I like to do is I like to move the seed around on the tray. Another reason that this tray with some texture is good is it holds a lot of the dust. And by blowing just a little bit of winnowing with my breath, I can better assess how clean the seed is and how much more deburring or rubbing I need to do. And you see, this is very easy to just get the seed, which is heavier than the dust, to go down to one end and blow a lot of that, what really are the burrs, off of there. The final step in cleaning to get the seed ready for storage is to clean all of the last of the dust and particulate out of here. That's best done with screens, which I will show how that's done. But if you don't have screens, you can still just continue to rub this and winnow off the dust. So a combination of the trays, the winnowing, and the rubbing will get this seed clean if you want to take the time to do that. I have two different sets of screens. I have homemade screens here, very nicely made with different size meshes. And then I have some commercially purchased seed screens here, which I have, again, different mesh sizes. These are slightly smaller, slightly larger. And then my all-important bottom tray, which I really like, which is not a screen at all. It's just what catches all of the dust and any seed that may go through your mesh. Essentially, you always want your slightly larger mesh on top, slightly smaller mesh below. Now these happen to be, this is a 1/16 or 4/64 inch mesh, and this is a 1/20 of an inch mesh. This is the 1/16 is slightly larger. I put that on top, and I happen to know ahead of time from working with a lot of carrot seed that these work for this particular type of seed. You'll get familiar with that as you make them and as you get different size screens and use them. But we're going to now pour the seed. So here we have our deburred carrot seed. We're going to pour that on. No need to pour all of that dust on if we can avoid it, but sometimes you can't. And it doesn't matter because that dust is going to go straight through both of the screens. But there, I didn't even have to put that through. Now you can see the carrot seed there. Just rub it gently. Now sometimes people want to rub the seed on the screen to further clean it. And that works with some kinds of seed, but there's two disadvantages to that. You can really wear out your screens doing that if you're doing it too hard and using them for that rough activity. And the other thing is, you can sometimes, on delicate seed like carrot seed, you can break the seed. So it's not recommended to rub too hard, just lightly. If you've cleaned the seed, it doesn't need to be rubbed hard. Then you shake this, and we're shaking it. A certain amount of this seed is going through, but I know that with a 1/16, most of my carrot seed is going to sit up on top. That's essentially now clean seed, though sometimes we'll take that seed and we'll go back and we'll put it out on the tray, and then I get a good look at that seed. And you know what? That's pretty darn clean carrot seed. There's a few little pieces of stem. Some of that always comes through. At that point, if you're growing just a small amount of seed, relatively small amount, you can pick those out, no big deal. Then on your next tray, slightly smaller, where you've caught the smaller seed, generally has a lower germination percentage. But in fact, much of this is good seed. Some of it is debris. There tends to be a little bit more debris caught there. So you can work that a little bit, try to get the debris to go through. This is pretty darn clean. I'd say you can just put it right back into your lot and not worry. Sometimes people, if they have a lot of seed, will take the smaller seed, and it's good chicken food. It's not to be worried. But you don't want to ever say, well, I'm going to give away or sell my bigger seed, and I'm going to keep my little seed for planting. That's usually a mistake, because then you're selecting for one seed size or another. And we generally want to avoid any kind of selection like that. Now, underneath that second tray, on our bottom screen, I want to show this to everyone. This is basically all debris. There's no good seed in there. It's dust. It's dust, small stems, and little broken pieces of seed. And that, of course, is compost. Here's our finished product, and that is some very nicely cleaned carrot seed, perfectly usable for a number of years to come.